Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the return of the Talk with AVC. I am your host, AVC, and today is special. I'm joined by Matthew Sepede and Jack Vippolis. Welcome, boys. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
For having us, AVC.
All right, cool. So this is being recorded on December 30th. We are at about halftime of the Georgia-Florida game. So I will not be making predictions on that one, but we are talking college football to start off with. So we're going to get right down to the college football semifinals. And Vip, since you are the bandwagon Alabama fan, I will start with you. Is there any way we don't get Bama-Clemson? What is this, Bama-Clemson 4 at this point?
I don't think so. I don't think Ohio State, just them not playing, the whole schedule is going to hurt them a lot. And plus, I think Fields is, his thumb is bothering him, too, which is that's not good for them. And then, I don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to keep up, especially, with the explosiveness of the Bama offense.
I would tend to agree, and this is coming from, if anybody's followed the show, you know I'm a Notre Dame fan. I love the Irish, but, I've been burned too many times. Every time I try to have faith in this team in a big bowl game, and against this Alabama team, this team looks better than the last Bama team that won the national championship, especially on offense at least. This team can beat you in all senses of the game. The only way to beat them, in my opinion, is to keep the offense off the field, which isn't something Notre Dame's bad at, but the problem is they're going to have to play from behind, and that's not something that the Irish are particularly good at, as it was seen when they played Clemson.
Especially with, just if you think about the Bama offense, Mac Jones, Najee Harris, apparently Jalen Waddle might play, which I don't know how.
I don't know how, and I don't know
why.
why he would. That's just jeopardizing his draft stock at that point. He's already going to be a top 3 pick at receiver. If he gets hurt again, that would honestly do more harm than good. And I think he already has a ring.
And then obviously Devontae Smith.
But. Yeah. Now, that was actually one thing as a Bama fan I wanted to ask you about. Does he deserve the Heisman over Mac Jones?
I think so.
Really? And that's actually
I would give it to Devontae Smith.
Because I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on Mac Jones. Some people view him as he could actually be a second-round pick for the NFL draft, and that he could actually be a quarterback going forward, and he's actually pretty good. Others view him as the typical Alabama system quarterback.
I don't know. I think that he's worth a second-round pick, and especially if you think about a team maybe like the Steelers, if Ben's gonna play next year, you bring in Mac Jones, you let him sit a year, and then you play him.
All right, so that's the big bowl game thing here, and the other big question is really, so we're assuming that Bama Clemson's in the finals. Who's your pick in that one?
I don't know. It's tough. I want to see how Clemson does against Ohio State.
Now, a big thing with Clemson is their offensive coordinator is quarantined and will not be coaching this Saturday. So their quarterback coach will actually be calling plays. I don't know how big of an impact that will be, but it could be something. I think it would be more of an effect against Bama. But I'm assuming I've seen Trevor Lawrence make audibles at the line anyway. I'm pretty sure he could call the offense if he wanted to.
Yeah. I don't know. Bama, I think Bama just might have too many weapons. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree.
It depends who can score more points. Whoever can score more. Yeah.
Now, the other big thing that people keep debating is Travis Etienne versus Najee Harris. Thoughts on that? Is Najee Harris really that good, or is he just another one of the – Derrick Henry, I think, is kind of the outlier. Is Najee Harris kind of another Mark Ingram, Kenyon Drake type guy where he's really more of just a system of Alabama's scheme? Is he really better than Etienne?
I don't know. It's tough. I don't know. It's tough to say with Harris because obviously a bunch of Alabama running backs have been good in the past, but he's putting up very similar numbers to what Derrick Henry did put up, which was Derrick Henry won the Heisman. I mean, I thought that Najee could have been in there, like as a finalist. But nah, I think that they're both very good running backs. I just think they run differently.
All
I
right,
just
very
think
cool.
Najee's more like a Derrick Henry type back.
I can agree with that. Sepede, I'm going to come to you with this next one. As of right now, we have the 14 college football playoff structure, and this has been a topic of criticism, especially this year with the whole Cincinnati being undefeated, Notre Dame, Texas A&M kind of jostling for that last spot. Should college football change their format?
So I mean, like I get the whole thing that people want to change, but is it really going to change how the Final Four is really going to look? I don't see any team beating Alabama to get into a Final Four spot. I don't see any team beating Clemson to get into a Final Four spot. And I mean, I guess you make a case like, oh, Ohio State and Notre Dame could be different. Like you could see a team like A&M maybe getting to the Final Four. But I think in the grand scheme of things, like it would be a good change. But I also don't think it would change the Final Four you'd see because these are the best four teams in college football right now, debatably. But I just don't think it would just be delaying the inevitable, which I don't think would do much. Sure, it would give teams more primetime games, but I just don't see the need for it right now.
I would tend to agree with you on that. Anybody who's followed my show knows I've said this a few times. There's kind of a hierarchy in college football. College athletics in general is not like the pros. It's never going to be like the pros where everybody's starting on an even playing field. In any couple years, a new team can be the powerhouse in that sport. You always kind of have more of the same. And in college football, it seems like there's Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, everybody else. Those are kind of like the top three. And then it seems like you've got that middle echelon of LSU, Florida, Oregon, Georgia, A&M, Notre Dame, maybe like Penn State, are those teams who are they're solid programs, but they need a lot of things to go right in order to beat a team like Bama or Clemson. Oh, we might have lost Vip.
I don't know. But
What
I will say to comment on that is the reason that you see this hierarchy is because the best players go to the best schools. So it creates a downward effect every year because the best players are going to want to the best school. Next year, the best players are going to the best school again. And if the best players are going to the same schools, which are the best teams, it's just going to be the same thing over and over again. And that's why you see this hierarchy in college football.
That's correct. And the main thing I'm saying is people say it should change. What is it you can really do? I agree with you, Matt. I don't think expanding the playoffs will really change much. If you do an 18 playoff, does anybody really think, like, if you can honestly look me straight in the face and say you think Cincinnati can knock off Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson, or Alabama, you're kidding yourself. I don't think anybody can say that with a straight face.
Right. This brings back to the whole UCF debate from I don't know
Oh,
what
God.
2
Don't
years
remind me
ago,
about that.
and they deemed themselves national champions because they should have been in there. It just doesn't work that way because you need credible wins, and these like a team like Cincinnati and they play in the I'm pretty sure they play in the same conference still. Like I don't know much
They
about
do.
college.
They play in the American Conference, which
Yeah,
at one point I believe Louisville actually used to belong to before they joined the ACC. But that's really what you have to do in college football. You have to build up considerable wins in your conference and then try to move up to like a bigger conference like the ACC or one of the Power Five conferences.
Right.
That's how a team like Louisville did it.
You got to have a credible win in your resume.
And I get the argument that everybody has against Notre Dame as the independent. They're really not an independent. They really play all ACC games. I mean, they're independent in the sense they don't play a conference championship. And that's really more due to their TV broadcasting deal, which gives them, I think, in the ballpark of about $12 million a year to the school, which, I mean, is the school really going to turn that down? No, and they're a quality of enough program to put up a fight against some of these bigger teams. But, I mean, Cincinnati has a game against Georgia this week, so maybe if they pull off a big win, maybe then they can start to get a little bit of credibility. That would be interesting. I remember I think UCF played Auburn that year. They declared themselves national champs, and Auburn was missing their quarterback or something like that, and they ended up winning. But I guess time will tell. But I always compare, when people talk about this kind of stuff, I always compare it to LSU because for years LSU was the God, they got some elite talent here, but if they could just get a quarterback or they could just get this or that, then maybe they could compete. And, the one year they got that elite talent with Joe Burrow, they put it all together and they won. And then they're right back to where they started this year. So it's another case of outside of the power teams, everything needs to go right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But is there anything like the NCAA can do? Because it's not like you can tell 5-star recruits you can't go to Bama. You can't force kids or not tell kids where they can't play in college. Like,
Yeah, no.
That's not going to work. Do you put a limit on how many 5-star recruits a team like Bama can get? I don't really see a point in that. To be honest, that would just be ridiculous.
I don't really think that you can.
No, the schools would never agree to it. You'd lose the SEC conference from from the NCAA. And here's the last question I really have for this college football segment is I want to get your guys' take on this. What would it take for a non-Power 5 team like Cincinnati or UCF or a team like that to make the CFP? Is it even possible for a team like that to make the CFP in this current structure?
I mean, it's possible. They have to be undefeated for 3 years, I think. And you have to have 4 to 5 Power 5 conference wins. And and also by Power 5 conference, ranked teams too. You can't just beat if you're Cincinnati, you can't just beat Arkansas. That's not that's not really proving a point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I think the easiest way would be to try to schedule as many ranked Power 5 matchups going into the season as you can. Obviously, you can't really predict who's going to be ranked at the end of the season. But if you pick a team that's always in the top 25, an Oklahoma or State or a Florida, some team like that, somebody that's going to get you national attention. That's a game you need to win.
Cincinnati, if they beat Georgia in this bowl game and go undefeated next year, maybe they should have a shot.
I think they should be considered if that's the case.
Yeah. But then if they do it again next year, if they beat another good bowl team, then I think for sure a third undefeated season will get them in.
Isn't the one hard thing about the NCAA though is a lot of these schedules are made 3 years in advance. I could go up on my phone right now and I can tell you who Notre Dame's playing for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually think something that you could just, if you wanted to narrow down the spectrum as to what you're going to look at for a non-Power 5 team like a Cincinnati to do it. You absolutely have to be undefeated, but you can't just be undefeated. You have to be a dominant undefeated team. I need to see you blowing out teams in your conference, showing, hey, we're feet above this team, and we show because we see in college football, good teams blow out bad teams. And on top of that, obviously, with the whole scheduling, I'm not sure really how that works, but I do need to see some Power 5 win. I don't necessarily need to see I need to see probably a ranked Power 5 win, but I need to see you win against Power 5 teams and that you're capable of doing it in good fashion.
I agree. I definitely think that's the way to go. If you're one of those teams, that's probably what it'd take. And just one last quick thing, if we're talking about expanding the playoffs, I would not expand it past 6. I think 6 is okay. I think anything past that is unnecessary. I think 6, give the top 2 seeds buys. And because I don't know about you guys, but I would have loved to have seen Notre Dame versus Texas A&M this year. I think that would have been a really good game to watch. And I would love to see Ohio State versus, I forget who was Florida
Oklahoma.
Number 6? Was Oklahoma? That would have been a fun game to
Oklahoma.
watch this year. Yeah, Oklahoma. That would have been a fun game to watch. So if you had the top 6 teams get in, I could see that would be something interesting at least. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. I will be very happy to have you again if you show desire. But again, thank you guys for joining me, and thank you all for watching this edition of the Talk with AVC. Obviously, please watch all the segments because they were fun. We took time to make them. Watch all my videos, send me presents, and enjoy your day. Happy New Year. Let us all pray for please let us have a decent 2021 after all this. But thank you all very much for watching, and see you all next time.